On June 2, 2008, Inter Milan welcomed serial winner Jose Mourinho as their new manager, an appointment that not only changed the history of Italian football, but European football as a whole forever, as Mourinho's side became the only Italian team in history to win the continental treble. But Jose didn't win it on his own. Today we meet the men that made Mourinho the myth he is today, a meticulous group of mercenaries that went to war with legendary opposition en route to football eternity. So meet me on the battlefield as we break down Jose Mourinho's Inter Milan. Welcome back, guys. You're watching the Sideline Starters, and my name is Andy, first team all sideline. Do me a huge favor and smash the like button to help the channel keep growing. And once you've done that, let's get started. I always cringe when I hear people say that Mourinho plays ugly, boring defensive football. Don't get me wrong, I fell in love with total football, drew a Guardiola City, and appreciate a good gegenpress as much as the next guy. But there's something equally as impressive about a coach who comes up against the best attacking teams in the world and says, "I won't let you score on us." Which is exactly what Mourinho did in 2009, tying Pep's Barca for most clean sheets in the Champions League, while also conceding the fewest goals in Serie A on his way to the title. But on top of being the best defense in Italy, Mourinho's side also scored the most goals in the country as well. So let's do away with the notion that Mourinho's teams can't attack and take a look at how they did. Jose lined his team up in a 4-2-3-1 that maximized an explosive counterattack. He deployed a mischievous sweeper-keeper between the sticks behind a seasoned duo of world-class center-backs, an attacking-minded right-back to give them width, and the club captain holding it down at left-back. A rock-solid double pivot protected the spine of the team even further, before releasing the ball to a Ballon d'Or candidate occupying the number 10 role. Pacey and clinical wide players looked to feed off his service as the attacking unit collectively supported one of the most clinical finishers in Europe that season. And now that we got the system down, let's put names to those faces, starting with the defense. Mourinho's starting back line was entirely South American and began its base in the safe hands of Julio Cesar, their contentious goalkeeper. The Brazilian began his career at Flamengo, where he gained notoriety for his fiery personality, with this clip of him dribbling through Fluminense during a 4-0 loss a perfect showcase of his passion, potential frustration, and undeniable ability. He signed for Inter in 2005 and won 3 Serie A titles before Jose's arrival, adding another in their first season together while winning Goalkeeper of the Year, and would continue to be a focal point of Inter's success in 2009. And the Brazilian flair continued throughout the defense, specifically when looking at their right back, Maicon. Hailing from a country famous for its attacking fullbacks, Maicon's dominance at right back came in an era just after legend Cafu and right at the dawn of Dani Alves' ascendancy. And like the two of them, he possessed the blistering pace and ludicrous technical skill to be a dangerous attacking threat for both club and country, and had the best season of his career in 2009, amassing 6 goals and 10 assists in the Serie A, with that assist total leading the team. Maicon gave Jose's side the width necessary to exploit opposition on counterattacks, while fellow countryman Lucio was signed to be his defensive cover, with Mourinho highlighting his pace as his most valuable asset.
Lucio is the perfect player because he's really fast.
The 3-time Bundesliga champion was a brilliant reader of the game and gave the backline mobility that wasn't as readily available on the left side. In spite of the international irony, Inter's Brazilian defenders worked in unison with some of Argentina's finest footballers, starting with Lucio's center-back partner, Walter Samuel. He joined Inter in 2005 and became the Nerazzurri's defensive juggernaut, with elite tackling ability paired with the aggressive instinct to sniff out any and all danger. The 31-year-old also managed to score 4 times across all competitions in 2009, proving to be an irreplaceable staple of the team. But Inter's left back would take that up a notch, as captain Javier Zanetti was an irreplaceable staple of the entire club itself. He began his tenure with Inter in 1995 as a technically gifted right back, with enough muscle to paradoxically bully through defenders with grace. By the time 2009 rolled around, he was 35 years old and was about to embark on his 15th season, and proved to everyone that age was just a number for him, racking up the most league minutes of any outfield player on the entire squad. Zanetti seemingly got better with age, and with the help of backup left-back Christian Chivu and rapid Colombian center-half Ivan Cordoba, assembled the best defense in European football. But the defending didn't stop in the back, which brings us to Inter's midfield. Yet another South American entered the starting 11, as Argentine Esteban Cambiasso occupied the right side of Inter's double pivot. The 5'9" midfielder arrived in 2004 after spending only 2 seasons with Real Madrid, citing Florentino Perez's global rebrand as the reason for his departure, stating, "The politics of the moment meant that most of the side were made up of academy players and Galacticos, and I wasn't either of those." Nonetheless, he found a home at the San Siro and never looked back, as his intelligent reading of the game and aggressive play style more than made up for his diminutive size. And while Cambiasso was defensively dominant, he was also a very decent attacker, as his ball control, late runs into the box, and overall ball striking ability made him an asset on offense, which helped take the load off of Inter's actual attacking pivot player Dejan Stankovic. The strong Serbian made a name for himself during his time at Lazio, where he was frequently chosen in midfield over and alongside the likes of Pavel Nedved. He moved to Inter in 2003 and, like Cambiasso, would stay for a decade, scoring screamers along the way, including this now iconic volley from the halfway line against Schalke. If we had to pick one word to describe Dejan's playstyle, that word would be powerful. Stankovic's technique and tenacity, paired with Cambiasso's defensive awareness, made an incredibly balanced double pivot that was frequently assisted by the rotation of an equally impressive Thiago Motta. Together, the trio of midfielders rotated seamlessly and looked to bring the ball higher up the pitch, usually aiming for perhaps the most talented player on the entire team. Inter's number 10 role was occupied by the one and only Wesley Sneijder, the Real Madrid maestro that signed in 2009, as the Oranjes' most capped player of all time was making his case for best midfielder in the world. On top of lifting the Serie A title in his debut season, Sneijder was arguably Inter's most important player during their Champions League campaign, as he led the entire team in total goals and assists. A World Cup final appearance would follow shortly after, but the Dutchman unluckily finished 4th in Ballon d'Or voting. But the streets know that Sneijder was robbed. The ambidextrous artist could play any pass on the pitch in addition to being a free kick specialist, and was truly a generational talent in his position. But regardless of Wesley's individual brilliance, he was still part of a contingent collective, as he always looked to play Inter's wide players into open space, starting with an 18-year-old Mario Balotelli on the left. The Italian teenager was blessed with the size and strength of a number 9, as well as the pace and control of a winger, but a potentially prolific season was derailed halfway through the campaign, as Mourinho criticized Balotelli's work ethic, stating, "As far as I'm concerned, a young boy like him cannot allow himself to train less than people like Figo, Cordoba, and Zanetti." Balotelli would be phased out of the team by January as Jose signed forward Goran Pandev to take his place. The Macedonian proved to be the opposite of Mario, as his selfless, industrious contributions to the team sealed him a spot in the starting 11 for the rest of the season. He's one of football's most underrated success stories, and his role in winning the treble cannot be overstated enough. But while Pandev was impressive on Inter's left side, an argument can be made that the Nerazzurri had the greatest player in African history on the right. The summer of 2009 saw Inter Milan acquire an African icon, as Cameroonian striker Samuel Eto'o was signed from Barcelona in a player swap deal that sent Zlatan Ibrahimovic the other way. Eto'o was fresh off the best season of his career, winning the treble with Barcelona the season prior, outscoring legendary teammates Lionel Messi and Thierry Henry in the Champions and Domestic League. But a toxic fallout with manager Pep Guardiola saw the 3-time African Player of the Year shipped to the San Siro, where he reinvented himself under Mourinho's system, going from a prolific number 9 to a defensive winger, displaying the engine of a racehorse as he and Maicon took turns sprinting up and down the right channel. Eto'o's move to Inter was legacy-defining, as he became the only player in history to win back-to-back trebles, embodying the ethos of Mourinho's historic side along the way, proving that no lone individual would ever be put above the team. And despite Eto'o's offensive sacrifices, he still managed to rack up 14 goals and 7 assists in the Serie A and Champions League, totals that made him the second most impactful player on the squad in terms of goal contributions, which finally brings us to the only player ahead of him. Inter's Argentine army recruited its sniper in the summer of 2009, as Diego Milito joined the Nerazzurri after a sensational 08 campaign with Genoa, where he scored 24 goals in 31 appearances, the second highest total in the league that season, only behind Ibrahimovic. Milito was tasked with leading the line on offense, a role in which he absolutely thrived. Milito wasn't the tallest striker in the world, but was incredible in the air. He wasn't the fastest forward on the team, but was still effective in one-on-one situations. But above all else, the man was born to score goals, with El Principe scoring 28 times in the Serie A and Champions League. But Diego didn't just score a bunch of goals, he scored arguably the most important goals of the season, as he found the back of the net against Roma in the Coppa Italia final in May, clinching Inter's first trophy that season, before scoring the lone goal in their 1-0 victory against Siena 11 days later, a goal that secured the Scudetto and left Mourinho's side one trophy away from completing the treble. Jose would face his former club Chelsea in the round of 16, where Milito proved decisive yet again, scoring in the 3rd minute of the first leg. Inter would win the tie 3-1 on aggregate and dispose of Russia's CSKA Moscow in the quarterfinals after. Mourinho's men would then face the toughest challenge of their entire season, as Pep Guardiola's Barcelona awaited them in the semi-finals, a team that many deemed as the greatest club side in history. Having been previously snubbed by Barca for the managerial role in favor of Guardiola, Mourinho walked into the fixture with a massive chip on his shoulder. It was Jose versus Pep, Barca's former translator versus Barca's former captain, and astute, pragmatic football versus aesthetically pleasing football. Jose set his men up in the 4-2-3-1 shape we've been discussing throughout today's video, but gave his team very specific instructions on how to stop the best player in the world, tasking several players with shadowing him.
Zanetti, Mota, Cambiasso, everybody was responsible for any position that Messi could go.
With Messi's impact limited, Mourinho's side exploited the space behind Gerard Piqué and Carlos Puyol on the counterattack, as we can see in the attacking transition that set up Maicon's go-ahead goal to give Inter a 2-1 lead in the second half. Milito activated his clutch gene once again and scored Inter's 3rd, sealing a 3-1 victory at the San Siro. Piqué would score in the return leg against an Inter team that was down to 10 men. But it wouldn't be enough to stop Mourinho from sprinting across the pitch in jubilation after the final whistle. That semi-final would in many ways outshine the actual final, with Mourinho himself already anointing this victory as his finest.
I won big matches, I had great moments in my career. This one is the best one.
Jose's side would go on to batter Bayern Munich at the Santiago Bernabeu, with Diego Milito's brace sealing the inevitable, as Inter Milan lifted their first Champions League trophy in over 50 years, while simultaneously becoming the only Italian team to ever complete the continental treble. A dream brought to fruition by a group of elite, experienced, and now eternal footballers, led by a proud man from Portugal, confident enough to play a style of football against anyone, while also being humble enough to build bonds with his players that'll last the test of time, earning the love of a city along the way, and the respect of a footballing world that rightfully referred to him as simply the special one. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and smash the like button if you want to see more video essays like these. And to keep going down the Italian football wormhole, you can click right here. Till next time, everyone.